in these regions. But I said, I've got to hold back. This may be organic. But then over the weekend, the State Department admitted, many others admitted that, yes, the West was funding the former head of the Atomic Energy Agency, Mohammed El-Baradei, that the Muslim Brotherhood is trying to overthrow the other globalist allies, Saudi Arabia, of course, places like Jordan, Yemen. And Webster Tarpley, my first question for you, and then I want to give you the floor on these issues to give us the full spectrum analysis. And you've been proven right again, because they now admit they've been financing this whole thing while giving tacit support to their old, tired dictator who wasn't following their every order on Malthusian, forced abortion, and things like that. But is it not the IMF and World Bank in the last 14 months ordering Egypt and other Middle Eastern countries and North African countries to cut the food allotment under austerity with 50% or more of the population on $2 a day, getting this emergency food allotment? The globalists put in the ingredients and created a political atmosphere that they knew would be a powder keg. Then they send in their color revolution, Soros-trained, endorsed by Brzezinski yesterday on ABC News with Christina Amanpour, another globalist hack. Right at the key point where they create the ingredients and the atmosphere, they then throw the match into the powder keg, and it appears they're beginning to fail. So, Webster, what is the great game? Why are they doing this?
Well, it is a CIA color revolution with plenty of backup from MI6, and it's a people power coup attempted, but I think now failing and ebbing. Now, the economic background that you correctly point to is that there is large unemployment in Egypt. There's a rising price of fuel, but this is determined by speculators in London, the International Commodity Exchange, ICE. And, of course, there's a rising price of wheat, but that's also speculators at the New York COMEX. In other words, the depression is not caused by Mubarak or any of these other people. The depression comes to you direct from Wall Street. The attempt, obviously, of the Wall Street City of London finance oligarchs is to deflect anger about these situations towards local governments, which are always easier for people to fight because of their limited understanding of how this stuff works. Now, Mubarak also, of course, has this repressive side to him, right? He's been in power for 30 years. He's been ruling under a state of emergency. The state of emergency, however, began when Anglo-American intelligence assassinated Sadat with the help of this Muslim Brotherhood. Remember, Ayman Zawahiri, the number two to Bin Laden, in his previous existence was an Egypt activist, right? He's from Egypt, and he was part of the attempt to kill actually did kill Sadat, and then he was able to flee to London and was able to continue his career. So this is the basic thing is it's a destabilization. There are real issues around it. But destabilization. One of the interviews, I'm fortunate here. I can get the Al Jazeera Putsch Vision in English, right? And they have been mercilessly hyping the overthrow of Mubarak on this British intelligence line. So they had a guy on there who said, "I'm going to go out and demonstrate. I don't care about Mubarak one way or another. I want higher wages. The minimum wage in Egypt is way too low. It needs to be immediately hiked up." And he says, "I want a better deal on the food, right, and the bread price." Now, that I think shows you what a lot of this is. In other words, people are willing to the extent that anybody has turned out at all. And these crowds are very anemic. The people who are doing it, some of them are there simply because they hope to get a little bit better deal. They're not there for hope, change, singing tomorrows, and El-Baradei. I think very, very few people care about this. The main thing I would say that people have to understand is, despite the hype in the U.S. television, this thing is ebbing away. It's failing. The goal of the U.S. and the British was obviously to force a panic on Friday, right? Friday being Friday prayers, right? The holiday in Egypt and much of the Muslim world, of course. It's the equivalent of Sunday in European or North American countries. So they were trying to get to stampede the collapse of the regime on Friday, and they have failed. And if you look then at the number of people they're able to turn out, this has nothing. It's not on the scale of Kiev in 2004. They're way weaker than Kiev, and They have other problems, but just in terms of the numbers, I think you can see it. It starts with 15,000 on the 25th of January, according to various things that I found on the internet. On Friday, that was the day of rage. That was when you had tens of thousands, they claimed. By the Saturday the 29th, they had, I think, 50,000 in this central square of Cairo, this Tahrir, and that seems to have been their high point. By the 30th, it's down to 5,000 at Tahrir. On January 31st, today, even Al Jazeera admitted that at 6 o'clock this morning there were 200 people in Tahrir Square. Now that's pathetic. In Kiev, in 2004, they had 20,000 young nihilists who were willing to stay out overnight in tents, right, with plenty of drugs and plenty of money.
Well, Webster, I get the point that you're saying you believe it's failing, and Al Jazeera did hype that Mubarak had fled the country last Thursday, right. Friday, Saturday. Even after he was on television, clearly there, they ran with the disinformation that he had fled. But on a larger issue, why do the globalists, and who are the main players here, why do the globalists want to do this to Egypt that has been extremely pliant with them?
Let me just add one last thing just for the irony of it, right? Today, Al Jazeera claims 250,000 in this Tahrir Square, and the Egyptian state television then switched to a continuous feed of Tahrir Square showing, 10,000 if they're very, very lucky, maybe more like 5,000. Now, the why of it. The why is that you have these entrenched dictators in the Arab world, right? You have Bouteflika in Algeria, and some of them are more harsh, less harsh. You have Gaddafi in Libya, you have Mubarak in Egypt, but you've also got the Jordanian monarchy. You've got the Saudi Arabian royal family, and of course there's the Assad dynasty in Syria. These are all entrenched, right? Gaddafi's been there for 40 years. Mubarak's been there for 30 years. The Assad dynasty for 30 years. The Saudis have been there basically, since the 1920s. So they're entrenched. They don't follow orders to the degree that a new, unstable parliamentary regime would have to do it. The U.S. is in a desperate situation. They need kamikaze puppets. If you go to Mubarak and say, we want you to become a kamikaze puppet, he'll simply say, no, I won't do it. So what they need is El Baradei. He's an agent of the International Crisis Group that I was already denouncing on my website earlier in the week, and also on my Twitter feed that people should tune into, Webster G. Tarpley, if you want to keep up from minute to minute. So they want countries above all they can use internationally. What do they want to do? The whole idea of the U.S. in the Middle East is to create an Arab-Sunni front against Iran, its allies, and the Shiite populations in general. It's the obvious way they do it, right? They use war of religion, clash of civilizations, Arab Sunnis against Persian, Iranian, Shiites, and others, right, including Hezbollah and other, Hamas and other people that tend to go with Iran. You got to have Egypt for that, right? Egypt is 80 million people. This is the big population center of the entire Arab world. You've got to have them in some kind of a militant mode. And with Mubarak, no, Mubarak wants stability. He wants Mubarak. He wants the Mubarak dynasty. He wants his son Gamal to be his successor. He doesn't want radical change. And similarly, right, Gaddafi is not interested in leading some crusade against Iran. So you got to get these people out, and therefore a kamikaze puppet against Iran. You also want people you can use against China and people you can use against Russia. These are the main goals. And I talked about this at the beginning, right, that Carter had tried this 30 years ago, and Obama is the new Carter. And Obama has tried it in Iran. He's failed. The Lebanon attempt of the 2005 has failed. The U.S. is not able to dictate the government of Iraq, and they're also not able to influence the government of Lebanon.
All right, Webster, stay there. When we come back, I want to pull back from all of this and look at the larger geopolitical ramifications, how it all fits together, and what this signifies that the Anglo-American establishment can't take over Lebanon, can't pull the scam with Russia in Georgia, can't hold on to Eastern Europe. These people power revolutions are failing. A very wealthy U.S. citizen is predicting that in 2011, we will witness the most important day in America in more than 50 years. He says it will change everything about our lives. The way you shop, travel, invest, educate your children, and even how you take care of your health and your own family. Now, this man has made some outrageous predictions over the years. The crazy part is, he's usually right. You see, he predicted the collapse of GM, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and America's biggest mall owner, General Growth Properties. In fact, Barron's called his work a dire prophecy. Recently, he created a video, which you can watch online for free, detailing his biggest and most important prediction yet. And it's a real eye-opener. I can't stress this enough. You should at least watch this free video online today. He explains everything you need to know, including simple steps you can take to protect yourself. You can find the video at www.endofamerica3.com. That's endofamerica3.com. Watch the free video at www.endofamerica3.com. That's endofamerica3.com.
Is it really possible to get out of debt without payment plans or attorneys? 18 years ago, we developed a program that has made thousands debt-free in just 90 days. It's called Zero Debt in 90 Days, and it works for all credit card debt, medical bills, even collection lawsuits.
When I first joined, I was being sued. So I used the program methods, and after filing one piece of paper, the collection lawsuit was dismissed.
With Zero Debt in 90 days, your success is guaranteed in writing. There is no other program of its kind. Don't be alone when creditors gang up on you. Let our team of experts provide the resources to fight back and stop creditors in only 90 days, guaranteed. Prevent wage garnishments, bank levies, and stop collection calls with our proven program. Call Zero Debt in 90 days now, 800-477-9256, and ask for free information from an expert who also completed our program. 800-477-9256 or ZeroDebtGuaranteed.com. 800-477-9256 or ZeroDebtGuaranteed.com.
On the average, Americans work between 45 to 50 years, hoping to build up enough wealth to retire and live out their golden years. Unfortunately, with taxation, the rising cost of food, energy, housing, and medical, many retirees are forced to live below the poverty line. Is this a flaw of free enterprise, or is our monetary unit we call the Federal Reserve Note forcing us into perpetual debt, ensuring inflation and higher taxes? These questions and more can be answered by reading G. Edward Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Congressman Ron Paul states it's what every American needs to know about central bank power. A gripping adventure into the secret world of international banking cartel. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I will give a silver dollar from the early 1900s to anyone who purchases this book. Call 1-800-686-2237 and order a copy today. It's critical that the public be made aware of the system. Call and order your copy today at 1-800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.
David J. Smith for Newswatch Magazine. Did you know that America is filled with adultery, lying, stealing, drug addiction, gang wars, and every conceivable evil that God has revealed is sin? Did you know that our once Christian morals have been deliberately undermined? It's a fact of history that every nation that sinks into immorality falls. Is America on the brink and hardly anyone is paying attention? If anyone calls sin what it is classified as a hate crime. We'd like to help you understand why these things are happening by offering you an absolutely free one-year subscription to Newswatch Magazine. Just call our toll-free number, 1-800-516-8736. That's 1-800-516-8736. Call now while operators are standing by.
We will not be forgotten. We won't be left behind. Our memories live on in mortal mind.
It really is staggering for me intellectually to actually see mainstream U.S. news promoting an